They taught you the Sunday school version of the Archangel Michael, the shining protector, the celestial shield, the gentle warrior who merely fights demons. That is the crucial lie that blinds you to his true, terrifying authority. The forbidden knowledge we are about to reveal concerns a dark chapter of the ancient war, a specific, brutal judgment that Michael carried out on a group far more dangerous than the Nephilim themselves, the wives of the fallen angels. This is not a story of gentle defense. This is a story of necessary, decisive, and irreversible spiritual execution, and the details were deliberately erased from public teaching. You risk everything by continuing, because the historical cover-up of this judgment is designed to keep you from understanding Michael's full, devastating authority. The reward for enduring this low-frequency dread is immediate, tangible. You will gain the secret knowledge to call upon the same gigantic, ancient authority Michael used, not just to repel a demon, but to cut the spiritual contamination out of your life at the source. The wives of the fallen angels were the epicenter of the shadowy contamination, the human vessels that made the Nephilim project physically possible. Their punishment was not a footnote. It was the most brutal, direct spiritual enforcement of divine law ever recorded. Why? Because they willingly allowed the corruption to enter the human bloodline. Michael's action against them proves that God's judgment is absolute, and it provides the forbidden blueprint for how you must deal with contamination in your own life. In the next moment, we will dive into the ancient texts that recorded this secret act of judgment. Prepare to view the gentle archangel as the celestial executioner. Are you ready to face the secret that protects your future, but shocks your past? The crucial lie is held not just in what they taught you, but in what they meticulously omitted. If the Nephilim were the product of the fallen angels and human women, why does the history you read only focus on the giants and forget the mothers? Why is the spiritual treason of the wives, the human collaborators, never detailed? The truth, the forbidden knowledge locked away in the ancient texts of Enoch and Jubilees, explains the cover-up. The wives were not victims. They were active, willing agents of shadowy spiritual contamination. They didn't just bear the Nephilim. They willingly housed the corrupted seed, serving as the physical bridge that allowed the ancient evil to become flesh. Their existence validated the fallen angels' primary agenda, the complete and irreversible perversion of the human lineage. This collaboration is the reason Michael's judgment was so swift and severe. The wives possessed a form of contamination far more insidious than the mere size of their children. They willingly exchanged the purity of the divine blueprint for gigantic power and forbidden knowledge. The spiritual chaos they introduced through their bloodline became the foundation for the low-frequency dread that plagues humanity to this day. The constant, subtle pull towards spiritual compromise and self-destruction. To truly understand Michael's forbidden action, you must first accept the terrifying reality of the wives' contamination. Their treason guaranteed the flood. They became the perfect example of how a human vessel, when willingly surrendered to the shadowy agenda, becomes a conduit for gigantic destruction. Ignoring their role is like ignoring the cancer source while only treating the tumor. If you are currently struggling with persistent, unexplained spiritual compromise, debt cycles, or chronic family conflict, you may be experiencing the residue of the ancient contamination they introduced. You need to know exactly what Michael did to them, because his judgment provides the precise blueprint for how you can cut this contamination out of your own bloodline and life today. Stay with this investigation. The historical omission is proof the secret is still active. To grasp the severity of Michael's forbidden action, you must understand the gigantic nature of the spiritual crime committed by the wives of the fallen. Their crime was not merely giving birth. It was spiritual treason, the ultimate rejection of divine design and the calculated acceptance of shadowy power. Think about the stakes. These women were the last pure link to the divine blueprint before the contamination became irreversible. When they willingly coupled with the ancient watchers, they didn't just break a physical law. They ratified a spiritual covenant of rebellion, giving the fallen angels legal access to the human genome and the earthly realm. This act unleashed a level of chaos, spiritual degradation, and low-frequency dread that required the annihilation of the entire world to flood. That is the measure of their gigantic betrayal. The lie they try to sell you is that all humanity is equally culpable. The truth is, the wives chose the forbidden power, the jewelry, the cosmetic knowledge, and the illicit secrets offered by the Watchers over the purity of their covenant. They became the first human spiritual terrorists, embedding the code of hybridization into the earth. Michael's judgment against them was, therefore, not simply punishment, but an act of spiritual surgery, a necessary amputation to save the remnants of humanity's divine identity. You need to know the specific details of this judgment, because your ability to resist modern forms of shadowy contamination, the lure of power, the seduction of forbidden knowledge, the acceptance of spiritual compromise, depends on understanding the absolute zero-tolerance policy of heaven against treason. Only then can you call upon Michael's authority to execute the same judgment against contamination in your own life. To proceed into the heart of this investigation and receive the shocking truth of Michael's judgment, you must first accept the severity of the spiritual crime. Pause this video right now, and in the comments, type treason exposed to seal your commitment to receive this harsh, necessary truth. Vow to expose the betrayal that still haunts your life today. Do it now, and prepare to meet Michael, the celestial executioner. You declared treason exposed, accepting the gigantic nature of the wives' spiritual crime. But who was powerful enough, pure enough, and ruthless enough to execute the judgment required to save humanity from this ancient contamination? The answer is the Archangel Michael, but not the version you know. The lies that Michael only protects. The truth, the forbidden knowledge locked in the celestial records, reveals Michael as the celestial enforcer, the ultimate spiritual judge of treason, and the commander of the armies of absolute divine justice. When Michael moves, the heavens shudder, and the law is irrevocably executed. His authority is not given. It is inherent to his identity as the one who mirrors the divine intolerance for rebellion. The scene of judgment against the wives was not a gentle arrest. It was a demonstration of overwhelming, surgical power. Imagine the atmosphere. The air thick with the low-frequency dread emanating from the wives' contaminated bodies and souls, a palpable, shadowy filth clinging to the very earth they walked. Michael did not approach them with a shield, but with a celestial mandate and a weapon forged in the fires of divine law, a weapon that cuts not just flesh, but spiritual covenants. This moment is critical. Michael's judgment against the wives was not emotional, it was clinical. It was the purest form of spiritual surgery to excise the cancer of hybridization from the human timeline. They had entered into a forbidden contract with the fallen angels, and Michael was commissioned to terminate that contract at its deepest physical and spiritual level. In the next moment, we will dive into the specific ancient texts to reveal the terrifying details of Michael's forbidden action. You must crave this knowledge, because understanding his role as the enforcer is the only way to activate his power to enforce your own spiritual boundaries today. Prepare yourself. The shock of this truth is designed to permanently change how you view your own spiritual authority. You have accepted the terrifying authority of Michael, the celestial enforcer. Now, you must confront the spiritual filth that triggered his forbidden action, the contamination held by the wives. This is the forbidden knowledge the enemy hides, because it shows exactly how human vessels can become hosts for gigantic wickedness. The wives' contamination was multi-layered. They were not merely physical hosts, they became spiritual conduits, actively teaching humanity the secrets of the fallen, sorcery, cosmetics, weapon-making, and the cultivation of ancient, spiritual sickness. The texts describe their bodies as being saturated with a shadowy essence, making them untouchable and fundamentally unfit to remain in the physical realm. Their spiritual DNA was so corrupted that even after the flood, their spiritual remnants would continue to breed chaos, a source of perpetual low-frequency dread on Earth. Their spiritual treason was so profound that traditional forms of judgment were deemed insufficient. They could not simply be allowed to die, because their spirits were bound by a gigantic covenant to the fallen angels. The judgment had to be final, absolute, and designed to remove their corrupted essence from the cycle of human inheritance forever. The shocking preview of Michael's action is this. Michael did not merely slay them, he executed a celestial separation. The ancient texts imply he was tasked with severing their corrupted spirits from the natural world and imprisoning their essence in a place of irreversible confinement. This was a spiritual amputation performed by the greatest surgeon in creation, ensuring that the source of the hybridization, the wives who chose the contamination, could never return to seed chaos again. The details of their final agonizing fate, the true meaning of Michael's devastating authority, will be revealed in the next moment. You must crave this truth, because understanding how Michael locked away this contamination gives you the blueprint for how you can spiritually lock away every shadowy attack, every generational curse, and every low-frequency dread plaguing your life. Stay focused. The moment of revelation is here. You navigated the shadowy history and the gigantic spiritual crime. Now, the full, shocking truth of Michael's forbidden action is revealed, directly from the ancient celestial records. Michael did not merely defeat the wives. He enacted a profound, irreversible spiritual lockdown. The forbidden action, the eternal custody protocol. Michael, the celestial enforcer, was commanded to take custody of their corrupted spirits and separate their essence from the cycle of human life. He executed the eternal custody protocol. The texts imply that Michael's judgment was twofold. First, the physical bodies were subjected to immediate, divine destruction, ensuring the physical contagion was stopped. Second, and most terrifying, the spiritual core of the wives, the essence that contained the full forbidden knowledge of the fallen angels, was sealed away, imprisoned in specific, desolate spiritual regions, to be held in chains of judgment until the final days. Michael personally ensured that their corrupted essence could never again manifest to breed a new form of gigantic chaos or teach the secrets of sorcery to humanity. This wasn't protection. It was spiritual execution designed to prevent future treason. This action is the proof of his absolute power to terminate the spiritual source of any contamination. But here is the danger. The shadowy forces want this truth buried forever, ensuring you never realize the full extent of Michael's authority over the contamination in your life. The omission of this story is a direct strategy to keep the low-frequency dread active in humanity. To ensure this forbidden knowledge survives and amplifies Michael's true authority over contamination, you must become the messenger. This is your act of spiritual defiance. Stop this video right now. Hit the share button and send this revelation to 10 people who need Michael's authority over the contamination in their life. By sharing, you are releasing Michael's true identity as the judge and ensuring the enemy cannot suppress this vital survival knowledge. Share the secret and activate the enforcer. You risked everything to unlock the forbidden knowledge of Michael's eternal custody protocol. The reward is not just a history lesson. It is your survival protocol for breaking the shadowy contamination that still operates in your life today. The generational cycles, the chronic failures, and the persistent low-frequency dread that refuses to leave. The crucial lie is that you must tolerate spiritual contamination because you can't trace its root. The truth is that Michael's ancient action gives you the blueprint for cutting the root, regardless of how gigantic the problem seems. Michael's authority is the legal precedent for spiritual amputation. Survival protocol, the Michaelic severance prayer. This protocol is based on the spiritual principle that if Michael had the authority to permanently sever the covenant of treason from the human timeline, you have the authority to sever any lesser covenant of contamination from your bloodline and life today. Identify the covenant of treason. The lie pinpoint the gigantic pattern of sin, failure, or sickness that feels inherited or too strong to break. This is your personal shadowy contamination point, where you or your ancestors willingly or unknowingly accepted a lie of the fallen angels, e.g., the love of money over God, the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, the tolerance of spiritual compromise. Invoke the eternal custody precedent. Declare this. In the name of the heavenly enforcer, Archangel Michael, and by the precedent of the eternal custody protocol enacted against the contamination of the wives of the fallen, I command every ancient covenant of compromise and every shadowy seed of generational failure to be permanently severed from my life and my bloodline now. Seal the severance. Declare that the spiritual essence of that contamination is now stripped of its power and placed under the gigantic chains of irreversible judgment. You are not just praying. You are executing spiritual law, using the authority Michael demonstrated. This knowledge is your sword. It allows you to fight with precision, cutting the spiritual roots of chaos instead of hacking at the branches. You have the power to stop the spiritual treason of the past from controlling your future. Use this protocol immediately, because the enemy is waiting for your vigilance to fail. You now possess the survival protocol and the authority to enforce spiritual law in your life. But the forbidden knowledge of Michael's eternal custody protocol carries an urgent prophetic warning. The celestial enforcer is preparing to rise again for his final, decisive action. The crucial lie is that the spiritual battle will be a disorganized skirmish. The truth is that the final conflict will be commanded by Michael, and his judgment will mirror the absolute zero-tolerance policy he enacted against the wives of the fallen. His ancient action against the wives was not an isolated event. It was a prophetic template for the judgment of all gigantic spiritual contamination and treason in the end times. In the final days, the Bible confirms Michael will rise, Daniel 12 verse 1. He will stand against the ultimate shadowy agenda and the final form of the Nephilim spirit. If Michael was commissioned to seal away the human vessels that facilitated the contamination in Genesis, imagine the gigantic severity of the judgment he will execute against those who willingly house and promote the final systems of rebellion. This means your long-term vigilance is mandatory. You cannot afford to let the low-frequency dread make you complacent. You must continuously apply the Michaelic severance prayer to your life, ensuring that you maintain the purity Michael fought to protect. This is the only way to avoid being caught in the final spiritual judgment against the shadowy residue of the wives' treason, the desire for forbidden power, and the acceptance of spiritual compromise. Your mission now is perpetual spiritual sovereignty. Guard your spirit, your family, and your doctrine against any new form of ancient hybridization or compromise. Michael is the ultimate enforcer of the law. If you align your life with the law of purity, you secure your position under his gigantic shield of protection in the final moments of history. You have confronted the crucial lie and embraced the forbidden knowledge of Michael's ancient judgment. You now hold the survival protocol to cut the shadowy contamination and break the gigantic patterns of failure in your life. But the enemy is persistent. The low-frequency dread will attempt to return and persuade you that this truth was just a temporary adrenaline rush. Your spiritual survival depends on perpetual access to the authority of the celestial enforcer. You cannot afford to lose the insights that allow you to distinguish between mundane frustration and a coordinated spiritual attack. You must commit to remaining under the prophetic watch. This is the final, non-negotiable action for maintaining your spiritual defense. You must subscribe to the Faith Whisper channel. And this is critical. You must turn on the notification bell. The enemy wants this forbidden knowledge to remain hidden. We must ensure its public dominance. The bell is your spiritual alarm system, guaranteeing that the next revelation, the next piece of ancient authority, interrupts the chaos and secures your vigilance. By subscribing, you align your spiritual journey with the mandate of Michael, the enforcer, declaring, "I accept the full authority of the judge against all shadowy treason." By activating the bell, you are telling the gigantic spiritual structures of contamination, "My position is secured, and I am perpetually armed with forbidden knowledge." The price of forgetting this truth is the return of the contamination and the loss of the authority you just claimed. Do not risk the compromise. Click subscribe and activate the bell now to seal your dedication to truth and prepare for the final charge. You risked everything, and in doing so, you mastered the forbidden knowledge of Michael's ancient authority. You now hold the blueprint for spiritual sovereignty, the power to sever every shadowy covenant, every generational tie to the rebellion of the fallen. You are no longer held captive by the crucial lie that contamination is inevitable. The eternal custody protocol executed against the wives is now your legal precedent. When the low-frequency dread returns, when the spiritual attack feels gigantic and overwhelming, you have the right to look at the spiritual source and declare, "By the authority of the celestial enforcer Michael, I command this contamination to be severed and imprisoned now." Receive this final, authoritative blessing and charge. May the gigantic strength of the Archangel Michael be your shield, and may the forbidden knowledge of his authority be your weapon. May every shadowy influence that attempts to compromise your bloodline or your destiny be exposed and severed by the Michaelic severance prayer. You have faced the harshest truth of the ancient war and emerged with the key to survival. Go forth and walk in the absolute authority Christ has provided. You are armed, you are informed, and you are prepared for the final prophetic war against all contamination. Remain vigilant, walk in your severance, and never again accept the crucial lie.